Welcome into DC On Screen, a podcast about the DC Universe properties being brought to film and television. To be clear, this is a spoiler-filled show. If it's been released, it's fair to talk about, and our subject matter today has been released. Go check out Justice League Gods and Monsters if you don't want to be completely spoiled in this movie because we're about to talk about it. I'm your host, David C. Robertson, and this is my co-host, Jason.
Hello.
All right, man. So I think it was the 28th.
28th.
Wasn't it? It was the 28th.
28th.
Justice League Gods and Monsters was released. Oh, man.
Even on Blu-ray.
Now they released, as we've talked about on this podcast, a 3-episode season 1 for Justice League Gods and Monsters Chronicles. Mm-hmm. It's online. It's free. Go check it out on YouTube.
It's not in the movie, so you might as well go ahead and take a look at it.
Right.
But it does actually set you up pretty well for what you're going to be getting.
It really does. There are 3 5-minute episodes, 5 to 6 minute episodes. One for Batman, one for Superman, and one for Wonder Woman.
Now, we should preface it saying this. We're just going to go ahead and call them Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. But that's not who you're not really getting them. You're getting a take on those names. And they've changed even the names of the actual characters.
They have.
And we talked about that already. Batman is Kirk Langstrom. Wonder Woman is Becca from the Fourth World, New God stuff. And I cannot remember the
Superman
the name
was
of Superman.
I don't know if I can say it correctly, but it's Hernan Guerrera.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right. I keep forgetting the poor guy's name, but
this is an alternate tale.
Yeah, they changed everything. So you're going to get an alternate tale where what you get at the end of it is a Justice League comprised of the Holy Trinity of Justice League.
So far, yeah,
but only nominally. They took an entirely different path through that woods.
They did. Superman in this iteration is the son of General Zod. The film opens with the fall of Krypton, and they had Jor-El and Laura have their little incubation pod there, and
the big seamanship.
Right. It apparently contains Laura's egg, and with a touch of a button, it reading the DNA on Jor-El's fingerprint, or whatever it is going to impregnate this egg, and it's gonna create Superman. But alas, General Zod's forces break in, and the whole he hollers heresy and everything. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that he was the one that the way they portrayed it was that Jor-El and the Council warned General Zod that he shouldn't go about messing with the core of Krypton, and
He does something that's pretty classic for whoever it is that ruins Krypton. Your numbers, I think he says your numbers were unreliable.
Yeah, your numbers were unreliable.
They always ignore Jor-El's poor numbers. They always do.
And so
he touches
General
it
Zod
and shoots a giant sperm machine into the skies.
Right. And it's actually almost it almost seems kind of this movie is very dark. Mm-hmm. And even though it's in a very clinical way, it very much seems, the way they portray it, it seems really rapey.
Oh, yeah.
Because Zod walks over and holds puts his hand around Laura's face and whatnot, and tells her your egg will be a magnificent house for my seed or some crap. It was something weird like that, and
and apparently, the classic trait of any of Zod and his offspring's, the biggest trait is that they're cocksure. And
he didn't need one here, just a finger.
Yeah, it just needs to be finger sure in this case.
Just finger sure here.
Just finger sure. Just into the just the tip.
Right. Just for a minute, just to see how it feels. And off the ship goes, creating. Now the entire opening sequence is kind of a beautiful sequence. It
actually is
really
gorgeous.
Cool.
I gotta say though, that ship threw me off for a minute, and then by the time it got to the sequence, I was back in. Mm-hmm, and I can't stress this enough, because this happened to me. I told a girl at work about a couple things she needed to watch. I told her, look, I know you're a Harley fan. I need you to go home right now and watch the Gods and Monsters stuff. This is before it came out. But at the same time, I was pitching Brave and the Bold to her. Look, it's a lot of fun. You can watch it with your kid. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. Well, she mixed up the titles. She went home and watched the Gods and Monsters stuff with her kid, and then had to cover his eyes and turn the channel as quick as she could, and came back to me and was upset for a second. I'm like, no, seriously, you got the names wrong. Oh, God. Yeah. Do not show your child this film unless you have therapy money set aside.
And, hey, I would probably want to show my kid all of it, but just, I don't know. Luckily, I believe I'll like, whenever it is that my girlfriend and I get married and have kids, I think she'll be able to rein me in on that.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, just here are the things you can watch now.
I'm going to get you a birthday card every year for that kid that says, please don't show it that movie yet. I'm going to have one to the kid that's a real happy thing with $20 in it, and I'm going to hand one to you every year that says it's not time yet. It's not time.
Well, I think importantly, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to gauge it based on how mature your kid is.
But, I'm not sure I'm mature enough to see this film.
Oh, come on.
It's very dark.
Gods and Monsters is very dark, though.
It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It really was.
So what we have is like we have like the kid, like little evil Superman. He's not evil, by the way. He's just General Zod's son.
Right.
They did some interesting things with it. He's
got that imperial fill that the Zods have.
He does. And what's kind of funny, and the first thing that really actually took me out of the movie was like once the baby is fully formed inside of this like incubation pod and he's about to crash on Earth, the kid looks up, like he's just like kind of hanging out there like a baby would, like in the womb. Mm-hmm. And then he like looks up as if knowingly and balls his fist into this like iron fist type of thing. And for some reason, that just really, I was just like, oh, come on. That baby doesn't understand anything. He doesn't know that.
It came out swinging, man. Came out swinging.
And so it crashes on Earth. It appears to be in, well, I guess it was New Mexico. Was that right? Is that what they said? I don't know.
No, I think it's actually Mexico. I think he actually lands in Mexico.
Was it actually Mexico?
Yeah, he grows up with Spanish as a primary language, which actually makes it really impressive later when he's so adept at English that he does rephrase something. Who do you think protects whom here?
Well, there are a lot of Hispanic people in New Mexico, so...
No, I think he's actually Mexican descent, properly a national Mexican citizen.
So instead of Ma and Pa Kent, John and Martha...
they never say who his parents are.
They don't say who his parents are. We have this...
He says they were like
Spanish couple.
I think he said they were hardworking immigrants.
Yeah, the way he said him saying immigrants made me think it had to have been New Mexico then, because I mean the terrain where he crashed looked like it was New Mexico.
Well, I mean,
of course, it could have also looked like it was Mexico.
It's not a ton of terrain difference between those parts.
Right, I know, but they're saying
ask the Border Patrol. They can tell you. They don't know which way.
The way he said that they were hardworking immigrants made me think they immigrated to America. So it made me think that it was based on the terrain, New Mexico. But
yeah, it's kind of a. Well, I guess it's kind of a non-point. Yeah, it doesn't really matter much. I got the feeling that he does land in Mexico. He finds his parents, and they all move.
Yeah, and so he's not. This Superman is not a bad dude, but at the same time, he's not holding back.
He's
man.
not a good one. He's sure as hell in a good one.
We do when his carriage or whatever, his chamber crashes, his ship crashes. We get a very young Lex Luthor showing up with some government agents. And the first thing I thought was like, oh God, they're going to do the Abrams Luthor. But they didn't. It looks like he was kind of a UFO chasing nut for a minute, and then he moved on to other things.
No, it just looked like that was his job. This was a big, I don't know. It almost looked like he was head of a science board of some kind, and so some weird shit crashes in the desert, and they send him because he's the only one who might know what he's talking about, what he's looking at.
Right. But right out of the gate, man, I think they said they were South American or some sort of terrorist group cell, and Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman storm the compound, and they've got Steve Trevor, who's just basically the same character he always was for the most part.
Well, he shows up pretty late to this party.
Yeah, Trevor's yelling, don't do anything until I get there, and like the terrorists start ill-advisedly pulling out weapons and shooting at the Justice League. And,
which results in a lot of dead terrorists. Just a lot of them.
Like, we're talking about, like, Superman is blasting, like, just incinerating people's heads with his heat vision.
Just blasts right through his head.
Batman is, like, sucking them dry of their blood, because he's a vampire.
Yeah. When they finally show up, one of the the three of the people that actually show up, it's Blockbuster, I want to say Bronze Tiger, and Livewire. Blockbuster, his grunts are performed by Bruce Timm, by the way. He found a way to come in there and it's about all you get out of him. It's basically Frankenstein. But I'm sorry, Frankenstein's monster. They come into this room, and it's a weird spot when you're rooting for Livewire. But for a second you are, because they look so outmatched. You're just thinking, run, man, run.
Right.
But yeah, there they are. And she takes care of Superman for half a second. And during my favorite fight, maybe, of the whole film, is Batman taking on Blockbuster. And he's punching, but it's not doing anything. He puts in about 8 kidney punches in about 2 seconds, and Blockbuster just kind of grunts at him and turns and squeezes. Anyway, so he squeezes the guy. He's got Batman squeezed up, and he's trying to bear hug him to death. And Batman's response is just to kiss him on the neck.
He bears fangs, man.
Yep.
And dude, he sucks him dry until he falls and twitches dead.
And he gently lays him down on the floor and finishes his meal. That's the really
right. And you've got Wonder Woman over here just gouging people with this sword.
Oh, yeah.
By the
running
way,
them through. She's doing her own Game of Thrones reenactment over there.
This is Wonder Woman as born of New Genesis. She's the granddaughter of the High Father. Mm-hmm. She's got a freaking mother box in her sword, and we do find out how she gets that sword, by the way, and it ain't from High Father. And
did a little absconding.
They're knocking down doors and crushing soldiers, and blood is running out. The rivers ran red this day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, no quarter is given here. They come in, they kill everybody involved, and they get the little chip that they were looking for. And Steve Trevor finally comes in, finally makes it in, and kind of looks around, and oh dear God, And he's. This is one of the moments where you really get, just to put a last nail in the coffin, that you are not about to see a Justice League movie that you're familiar with, because you've already you're still shocked that they're killing these people. But,
importantly, it wasn't even oh dear God, he's never seen this before.
It was
he's seen this before.
Again. Yeah,
he comes in and just looks around and goes, Jesus. This is oh man. And he even talks about, he's like, did you have to kill everybody? Really? And they were like, yeah, blah blah blah. I believe Wonder Woman's quote was they what did she say? They got a little rambunctious.
Yeah.
And they're just laughing this off, and Trevor's like, give me the president and a mop.
Right. No, before that he says, you realize how he kind of gives him shit about, you realize how mad Waller's going to be when she hears about this, or President Waller's going to, by the way, President Waller, is going to be when she hears about this. And this is when you really finally if you were just too in shock by all the death to realize you were watching a weird film, it's when Superman uses the phrase, are you kidding? She's going to be simply orgasmic.
Yeah.
Superman's not supposed to say simply orgasmic.
She's going to be simply orgasmic when, God, what was it? When she realizes that all of these people on her hit list are dead, it's going to be like Christmas.
Right. It'll be like Christmas to her. And then he slips the little, whatever it is, in Trevor's little side pocket and just sort of strolls away.
Yeah, the information that they were trying to obtain. And they do. They go up to the Justice League Tower where there are protesters outside. Mm-hmm.
And
they're
you
drinking
you're on the wrong
the
side
news.
of a film if you find yourself watching protesters outside and sipping on a glass, and a tumbler glass with 4 ice cubes and whiskey.
Yeah.
That's a bad guy pose.
Which I have to wonder what that does for Superman.
I just wondered that too with Wonder Woman. They're having a drink. Why? And why are they the only ones working? Kirk is back there working his ass off.
He is. And by the way, Benjamin Bratt is Superman. Michael C. Hall is Batman. That's Dexter, y'all.
Dexter.
And Tamara Taylor is Wonder Woman. I have to say, though, Michael C. Hall's Batman was almost too monotone for me.
No, I loved it. I really did.
But it made me think even more that he could play the original Joker.
You're not wrong. Hey, there's a moment... he played the character well. I thought he did a great job with the actual with the voice. He has nuance, and he's always been good at that. If you ever watched Dexter, he's always been good at doing that low growl, that I don't know, that detached kind of manner of speaking. And you kind of it's funny. Like there's a scene later where Tina gets killed in front of him, and it's one of his the woman he's infatuated with for the whole film gets killed in front of him, and he rushes over to her when he finally gets a chance. He rushes over to her. I mean, you hear him do this. No, 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 no. It's the exact same one he uses when he finds Rita in Dexter. He finds in Dexter in the show, he finds his wife in a pool of blood, murdered, and. I swear it's the same exact... They pulled it from the tapes. I don't even think he redid that take.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dexter.
It's really kind of crazy, but a lot of fun.
I haven't made it all the way through it. I mean, yeah.
Hold it. So, but it was really I don't know. It threw me out for just a second because it was so Dexter. It wasn't even. It was. Otherwise, though, his weird little monotony thing is, I think, perfect for a guy who's not even human anymore. This isn't a normal Batman that's just trying to scare people. This is a guy that's actually flippant a little bit. He actually has a sense of humor.
Well, I mean, based on the flashback, they do a flashback. They introduce a character named Will Magnus in this film. Well, they didn't really introduce him. He's in the movie, but yeah, he's the creator of the Metal Men in the comics.
Traditionally a good dude.
Not really. I mean, Magnus has never been like the best dude. Like Magnus has kind of always been sort of a let's walk the line here kind of guy.
Well, sure, but traditionally, he's never been, in the world evil. I don't remember a storyline where that happened.
No, the storyline deals with a number of gigantic robots who emulate the Justice League's powers. They're running around killing off scientists and physicists. They kill Ray Palmer. Oh man!
Early on,
I didn't want to see Ray dead.
It hurt, and his tiny horse too.
Ray dead. Oh man! He's got these little cute tiny horses, and they're going to show some people this thing, and it's going to revolutionize science and change the world. And
now
what was
that's
the
still
line?
in play. Ryan Choi's back there. Presumably they'll be okay.
Is he? I thought he died.
No, he just gets brushed aside.
Okay, he gets brushed aside.
Yeah. So the miniaturization process is probably still, in play.
Yeah. But so Ray Palmer, oh man, he's dead. He's dead as hell.
He's way gone. And because of cell phones, people answer your phone. Don't call back immediately. At least take the time to listen to your voicemail, because if she had listened to that voicemail, he might be alive.
Yeah.
It actually bothers me, though. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm running for someone, and I go turn off my phone, and I hear that little Samsung, da-da-da-da-doo. Why do you have to have the turning off sound? You're going to get me killed.
Yeah. So, where were we? Okay, a bunch of scientists are dying, getting killed off, and it looks like the Justice League is doing it.
And early on, though, they switched between villain and good guy pretty quickly, and because the first one to go down is Victor Freeze.
Yeah, Victor Freeze is up at. It looks like he's in the Antarctic or something.
Yeah, something very cold.
Someplace very cold, and he gets taken down, and it was funny. I was watching it with my sister Brittany, and she's a huge nut when it comes to Justice League and Batman and stuff, and they kept showing they stayed on that Victor Freeze name tag for a really long time. And she goes, "Am I supposed to know who that is?" And I'm like, "It's Mr. Freeze." And she was like, "Oh, how could I not have known?"
They all but how in sports when they're doing replays that they go back and circle it and put a thing and do the draw. They all but did that.
Yeah. Which that has long been every time I see that, I've thought about okay, it would be fun to do that's the next wave of movie commentaries. People like us could just watch a movie and do the circle now this right here, this is gonna be Victor Freeze. Comic book fans would know Victor Freeze as Mr. Freeze who lost his wife Nora.
All of that's irrelevant here. He's going to get thrown down a very long cave in a second. So
call it DC Replay. We own the copyright now.
Yep.
No one else can do it.
That's ours. That's ours. We'll eventually expand into simply Movie Replay.
I mention it here not because we're actually going to do it, but by God, no one else can now.
No, I just want 1% of whoever actually gets up their ass and does it.
Fair enough. So
10%.
Man, they bring in gosh, man, one of the guys who gets killed here is Silas Stone.
Yeah.
man, that's Cyborg's daddy.
I know.
And we actually do. We meet Cyborg, a very young Cyborg, and he never becomes Cyborg with a very dirty mouth. And like, what was weird to me about that was like, not only is this darker, but like the kid's like, "Daddy, tell me about Wonder Woman," and he's like, "Well."
He actually was going to tell her like, "Well." And
he was totally going to like.
If you've seen this Wonder Woman, you know damn well what he was about to say. Well, her tits are basically popping out of the top of her shirt.
Yeah,
I want to know how that costume is designed, by the way, because if she ever turns upside down for any purpose, those things are hanging out. Surely gravity affects New Gods.
And yet, a number of times in this movie, we saw her turned upside down, and they did not.
And they didn't. So I want to know exactly how this thing works. Is there something that connects the nipple to the actual? Like, is there like a duct tape situation?
Yeah, it's New Gods magic.
New Gods magic.
The
New Gods, they're so powerful they got around to tit magic. Eventually, well, actually, it's probably one of the first things they fucking perfected. Is how can we make boobs even better? Well, I know there's a dark side working on anti-life equations. We'll deal with him soon. We need to deal with this boob problem now. Get your priorities straight, man.
Oh, man. Okay.
I was fascinated with her costume the entire time. Why?
Yeah, it was weird for me. Cyborg and his daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see his dad like messing with what the precursors to what would become the cyborg suit.
Right.
And this robot shows up and no more Silas and Victor. Those
the poor
cats
kid's
are dead
last
now.
words. Oh
Yeah. So that was kind of weird. But apparently all these cats were part of Luthor's boys. And like Lex Luthor mentored them, and they realized that all of these scientists are part of that group, of which Will Magnus and Kirk Langstrom were members.
Mm-hmm.
And we do some interesting flashbacks. We see Kirk and Tina and Will in college, and it's clear that Kirk is totally head over heels for Tina, but she's with Will, and
he seems to respect that.
Yeah, he respects that, but Will he's jealous and thinks that she dotes on Kirk a little too much, and I think maybe she does. Like, it's kind of clear that she digs Kirk too, but she probably wouldn't if Will wasn't such a jackass, because he's a jackass through the entire thing.
He seems to be a little bit of a jackass. Now, it's a playful jackass kind of thing up front. Like he's clearly helping his friend out. By the way, it was one of my favorite lines in this whole film. They're about to go to that party that night, right before he goes, and one of the last things he says to try to entice Kirk out is, "Come on, Crazy Ivy's going to bring her homegrown."
Yeah, I did enjoy that.
I assume that there were illicit materials at that party.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I assumed too.
But I got to assume also that if it's Poison Ivy or Crazy Ivy, I guess we're going to go there. It's got to be some good shit. It just has to be, right?
One would assume. I don't know, but they could have touched on that a little more. I was a little interested,
right?
So we do flashbacks with Batman and show kind of what led up to him becoming a vampire. And it very much appeared that like he was dying or sick in some capacity. They didn't really go into.
They just said
details.
lymphoma. They didn't say what exactly it was, but Kirk does have apparently an early onset form of some kind of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say. Could be brain or testicle. I don't know. Could be leukemia. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, it's getting worse, and obviously he's trying not to die as often people do.
By happenstance, he had been looking over Magnus's work and was like, "Oh, your nanites could do the blah blah blah, and could it work on a biological form?" Well, yes, and then they kind of work on the thing together, and Kirk Langstrom winds up shooting himself up with it because he's desperate for a cure, and ta-da, abracadabra, he's on the streets sucking people dry. Their blood, I should say.
Now, this is technically the most metal version of Batman ever. He's literally made out of nanites.
Yeah.
Or at least the important parts have been replaced by nanites.
Yeah. But he's... Oh, man. So, know...
obviously they turned him into a bat. I have to imagine that is not exactly what Kirk or what Magnus intended. But then again, later in the film, he actually uses the phrase, "Even after I turned you into a monster, she still loved you."
Yeah.
There's actually, I don't know, it's kind of it's a little ambiguous. I could actually believe it either way, that he did or didn't intend to do that. But
yeah, I believe Will Magnus did intend to do that. As you might surmise from what Jason just said, Will Magnus is the big bad of the movie. We're pretty much led, or they sort of tried to lead us to believe it was Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
because
but no one was
Luthor is
buying
against
that.
the Justice League, and then they kept saying stuff like, "Where is Lex? Is he dying? Is he even still alive?" And I mean, shit, man, we just saw him on the news talking about how he hated the Justice League. I don't understand.
Right.
But
everything's about Luther's boys and all that crap and Project Fair Play. I mean, look,
yeah,
it wasn't their fault. I understand the mislead, but at no point did you think it was Luther, right?
Well, they really do try to make you think it was, but I always kind of figured it was Magnus.
Yeah.
But Magnus is, again, in the comics, he was never always a good guy. He was always very middle of the road. He would do some messed up shit to serve his own purposes.
Which is, he doesn't believe that, obviously. His little climactic speech also involves the phrase, if I, the best and brightest of them all, could do that hideous an act.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously considers himself to be a pretty prime example of a good and talented man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's full of himself.
He's really quite full of him. Like Superman could learn something about nerve from this guy.
Right. Now, Wonder Woman. Now, when they showcase the Gods and Chronicles, or Gods and Monsters Chronicles, the episode of least interest to me was the Wonder Woman episode.
I agree, but
that
here's
is
why.
Not true. That is not true of her backstory in this movie, though. Oh, she's the most interesting to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, see, I liked Kirk's thing. They really didn't go into Superman's a lot. Although they're doing some comic books for it, and apparently he does have a sister.
Yeah, there is a 9-issue, apparently a 9-issue miniseries that leads up to Gods and Monsters, and I will be getting a hold of that as soon as humanly possible.
Have not gotten around to it. It looked good, but yeah, I haven't gotten around to it. I still thought, and this is something that just ends up being true after all, Batman was still the most relatable person to me. But yeah, I mean, it. I don't know how the Bat just always wins, but somehow. But going back to her backstory, I didn't care, and it wasn't her fault. It's that every time I see the New Gods, I roll my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that stuff. It's fun to play with, and Darkseid's obviously worth it. I like Orion.
Right.
I've expressed how I felt about Granny Goodness. They pretty much did what I would like to do to Granny Goodness. They actually did what I would like to do to the Fourth World. Just one big red wedding.
See, okay, that's what I loved about it, man. I mean, that was some Game of Thrones shit right there.
That was some definite Game of Thrones shit right there.
I mean, this is what they do is Becca, or Wonder Woman, before she was ever Wonder Woman, she was the granddaughter of the High Father, and they had wrangled a truce with the forces of Apocalypse, with Darkseid. And the big peacekeeping measure was going to be that Becca was going to marry Darkseid's son, Orion. In the comics, or in the original universe, the way it always happens is the way they get the peace is they trade sons. High Father hands over Kalibak, and Darkseid hands over Orion. They trade sons, and they keep the peace that way. Mm-hmm. In this version, Darkseid was going to marry off his son to High Father's granddaughter, who was Wonder Woman. She didn't really want to marry him, and then, but she was like, "Yeah, I'll do what I can for our people." That night, Orion kind of pops over to her place and is like, "Here, let me show you a place," and blah blah blah. So they kind of go off and they fall in love because he's totally into her because she's totally hot. And
which seems to be the only identifiable factor behind his attraction so far. They don't give him a lot of backstory.
Right. They don't give either one of them a lot of backstory.
There's not a lot of nuance. The basic story of them falling in love is he seems to find her attractive. Great. And she likes she seems to like the scenery that he knows exists. Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is she's clearly going through with a thing for her people, which makes her noble, and which is enough to love someone, I think, especially when your entire upbringing has consisted of being loyal and noble for your own people. Like, that's enough. Like, okay, she's a good cat, and
she's a team sport.
Then Right. And then, but he's like, well, I want to see her and talk to her before all this stuff goes down. And I'm going to show her a place. Because, like, if you are in an arranged marriage, my guess is I doubt it was very much Orion's decision. This was Darkseid's decision and Highfather's decision. To like, oh, we're going to marry these two kids. Okay, well, what do you do but try to make the best of a bad situation? And so he's like, okay, well, you're going to be my wife. I'm going to show you this place that only I know about. And maybe you'll get a little sense of me that I'm not, quite as batshit crazy as my pappy. Mm-hmm. And you're going to, think that I'm a better person than you might have before. And she does. And they do the wedding, but it was all in a startling turn of events. Highfather and the New Gods decided to screw Darkseid and his ilk, because as soon as the kids are married, they start breaking open pots and shit, and there are all these weapons inside, and it's an ambush. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Someone just runs up, sticks a gun in Granny Goodness's face, and pulls the trigger.
Yep. And there was I saw a lot of this and kind of thought, I've always wanted to see that.
But to be fair, I'm not sure that the Orion and Becca actually loved each other. It seemed to be like, okay, well, they understood that they were good people at the very least, and she knew that he wasn't the same as the other Apocalypsians. I don't know. So
Apocalypse. I don't know.
Apocalypse. She knew that he wasn't the same. He was a better person than that. So he gets killed in front of her, and it is sad. It was sad to me. It was messed up, and she did not dig what Highfather did.
God, like, and by the way, right before that, Highfather literally blows Darkseid's head off.
Yeah, like he overpowers him. Like he channels so much power into Darkseid's head that his head literally explodes.
White literally explodes. You see a quick frame of it going bleep. I mean, just a pumpkin being vandalized by a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, this is some messed up stuff, but
yeah.
That's I loved that Highfather betrayed the truce, and I loved even more that she was just like, no. This is unacceptable. I will never come back here. And the reason she had the sword with the mother box is because Orion had given that to her. Mm-hmm. That was a gift from him to her. So because she just kind of dips.
She did belong to him once.
Yeah, she dips, man, and it creates an interesting vulnerability in the character that we don't see much else of. Like she's very independent and very honestly, the Arrow writers would do a lot better to look at this movie and be like, oh, look, they wrote an interesting character and therefore an interesting woman.
Actually, in the same sense of that the reversal thing, her relationship with Trevor is like straight up domestic violence. Mm-hmm. I mean, she picks a fight with him, and he kind of says, like, we both know you're 50 times stronger than me. He tries anyway, but man, she's just tossing him around like a rag doll.
Yeah. And having a lot of fun with it, too.
Yeah.
But it does. It looks like he's having a lot of fun with it as well. Like, this is like
he looks like he has to put up with these gods and just kind of doesn't really appreciate a lot of it. He looks like he's basically just putting up with these people for the most part.
Yeah, but, let's not paint him as the victim here. He's putting up with this. Like, he could have told her, like, she comes to him and she's like, okay, so we'll drop the whole thing if you'll drop the whole thing if I win. And, if you win, we're going to have sex. And he's like, right on. I mean, the dude is like, yeah, I hate dealing with all these stupid gods, but the sex is amazing. So
honestly, I took it as more like he kind of knows she's not actually going to kill him. Probably not even really maim him. But I think he'll keep fighting her because one time he just wants to beat her. Just one time.
Yeah. I mean, she basically treats him like he is her favorite pet. Which is kind of fair.
That's about right.
This dude is like Wolverine if Wolverine never had any powers. So
right.
He's just like, I'm gonna do it anyway. All right. Gosh, man. So obviously not so obviously. Everyone thinks the Justice League have committed all these murders because these robots have the Justice League's powers and make it look like the Justice League has done this. Killed all of these professors and scientists and whatnot. And They did not. Now, based on how they handle people, that makes total sense that they would, for some reason or another. But they didn't, so they have to clear their name. And long story short, it turns out Will Magnus is involved, and he's behind it all.
That was one of those quotes, though, from Superman, where they realize that someone's trying to frame the Justice League, and his response is, "Who would have the balls?" Wow.
Yeah. And, I think his first thought is Luthor. And he goes to see Luthor, who has now escaped into a giant space station. Mm-hmm. But Luthor is, apparently dying from an illness or something as well.
Like he had, it looked like he might have had Gehrig's or something.
Yeah. It was very Lou Gehrig's disease-y. He reminded me of Stephen Hawking.
I think that's the point, is they gave him the Hawking kind of storyline where
But he's telling Superman, no, I'm not behind this. I have transcended past the petty politics of our world. I have begun mapping and charting the universe. And he's got, cool holograms and shit. And he's like, my goal has never been power, but ultimate knowledge. I'm like, all right. And that's a cool end game for Luthor.
Oh, yeah. And just eventually does trot off with Wonder Woman to go, hang out with some gods and learn what they know.
Yeah, so right on. Even Luthor's like, I must understand this tit magic of which you speak.
Yeah, he'd have to. He'd just have to.
I understand countless worlds, but this tit magic.
Mm-hmm.
Explain it to me.
And start with her, probably. He does. He runs off. He gets the whole... By the way, he's kind of the actual good guy of this entire film.
He actually kind of is.
I mean, at first, he's just trying to protect the Earth from whatever just crashed into it. And then it becomes he's trying to protect them from the Justice League. But he's also trying to protect the government from itself, from kind of biting off more than they can chew by teaming up with these guys.
Yeah.
End of the day, it's just... He's the good one. And then he leaves, and this is something that cracked me up about it. It's not a Justice League movie like you're used to, but at the end of the day, it is. They, Becca goes off to kind of fix whatever the side effects of that little wedding debacle must have been. But, Kirk and Superman hang back, and now Luthor gives them this, set of files with all of the technology on it. And that's their plan, is they're going to kind of bring about a new Genesis themselves of new technology, things that'll save lives. They're going to go change the world. But by giving it more information, not by going to punch a bunch of people.
Right.
I assume people will need punched and, de-blooded. So there'll be plenty for them to do.
Right.
At the end of the movie, he's even saying, I've been thinking about it. Maybe just going, no more killing, no more politics. And Batman just kind of, really? He seems annoyed by the prospect of not really getting to go feed on the government dime anymore. Yeah.
Now, Will Magnus, he is the villain of the piece. We learned that when Batman sees his unrequited love murdered, I guess. He wasn't watching her die. He was watching a robot that Will Magnus created die because Will had killed the real Tina years and years and years earlier.
Years ago.
And
accidentally, apparently, but still.
By the way, speaking of, this is... All right, we talked about Wonder Woman's weird costume and boobage. Mm-hmm. Was it necessary to draw nipples on the Tina bot?
No, it was not. But in this film, you better believe that was going to happen.
There were nipples on Platinum.
There were nipples on the Tina bot. I don't know why.
Oh.
They don't... Those are mammalian glands. Those are basically baby-growing receptors.
Right.
Platinum wouldn't need that.
I mean, I would only assume that they were there because Will Magnus... Well, I mean, I'm assuming he was going to have sex with that robot.
Yeah, he does joke about Kirk creating himself a girlfriend, so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that
it's occurred to him before. I could probably make a better version.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he crafted Nepelia onto the Tina bot.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess she, turns all metal. I guess... That's part of her design or something.
I don't know. He made sure
I didn't think it was necessary.
She made sure
it was
she
weird.
had believable skin too. So God only knows.
Yeah, it was weird.
When you've devolved to the point that you're going to end the world using some sort of nano bomb and powered by a spaceship, I'm willing to bet you haven't gotten laid in 10 years. It's at least on the table or off the table. Either way.
Well, it's time consuming.
It's not so much a matter of want; it's a matter of need and time.
Right.
But he's been running around with this robot and having to pretend that's his wife for God knows how long now. So, it's not like he could run around and, well, I guess he could just, go pick up an escort somewhere, but still.
What's funny is he programs the Tina bot to actually just like hide his pipe from him.
Right.
That was weird. Like, why wouldn't she be okay with you smoking the pipe? You programmed her.
She's not worried about secondhand smoke or something. So
yeah, no. So that was weird. Like that. Like to me, there are 3 big villains in this movie, and none of them are Will Magnus. One of them is Wonder Woman's weird impractical costume.
Right.
One of them is Platinum's weird impractical nipples.
Right.
And the third, and it kills me to say it, is Paget Brewster's terrible turn as Lois Lane.
I know. I don't know how that happened. I
really don't.
adore that woman.
I do too. I love Paget Brewster in almost everything I've seen her in. A couple of days ago, I would have said I love Paget Brewster in everything I've seen her in. Now I've seen her in this.
She's all over voice acting. She's all over.
She's doing, yeah, and she did a terrible job as Lois Lane.
I'm not. When I was listening to it, I just kind of closed my eyes and then opened my eyes again, and it didn't fit. I think she just wasn't the right pick for Lois.
Yeah,
not this time. Not
just
this Lois.
Every line is stilted and strange and takes me out of the movie.
It kind of sounded like she was doing like a country club rich girl voice, like that was her blue blood accent.
Yeah, and oh man, it was just real weird and bad. And I'm sorry, Paget. I love you.
We do.
You were not the right call.
I know. Hurts my heart. I wouldn't have been able to tell. See, this would have happened if I was producing because I wouldn't have been able to tell her no.
Well, yeah, okay.
That might be how it happened. I like her too much. I would have just been happy to have her on the cast and thrown it on.
You just say yes and cut the role as much as you can.
I wouldn't even think to. I'd still be so taken. We're like, we got Paget too. It's great. Give her as many lines as you can. I'm sure I would screw that up. All right. It'd be like rose-colored earbuds for me.
Right.
Rosebuds, if you will. All right. There's one thing I really did love about this movie the most, but I'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
My big villain for the movie, if we're going to go down that road, how does Batman fly? Like, gravity means nothing in this film.
Yeah.
The robots and Batman. I get Wonder Woman and Superman. I'm on board there. Of course, I'm not really, because Superman I get. He's always going to fly. We're always going to have a flying Superman. Okay, well, I would have thought we're always going to have a flying Wonder Woman up until, I saw this film. That's not actually Wonder Woman. She wasn't granted flight by a Greek god. It's just it's a new god, and Orion obviously has to have a contraption. Why does she float around?
I took it that because she can't fly when he tells her to get onto his little platform thing, and that she's going to need to hold on, so she can't fly before that. I am assuming the sword is flying or allowing her to fly. But you see, like, she opens a portal and jumps through it, and then, like, the portal will show up, like, mid-air, and she'll fly through that. So, or come falling out of that.
Maybe. That might work. There's only a couple times in the movie she doesn't have the sword on her, and I think she's on the ground for all those. So I can roll with that. But still, you have Batman. That is a really slim suit. Where are we putting boosters and thrusters and... There's none of that. He just flies with ease. He just glides.
I thought I saw like little cape gliders.
He does have cape gliders, but gliders do not a flyer make.
Well, yeah, but it
it's
didn't
the Buzz Lightyear falling with style when you just have those.
Well, you accepted it with Terry.
He doesn't fly. He just kind of swoops around and he jumps off things. And there are reasons.
Yeah, I mean, so does Langstrom's Batman. I don't even remember him flying so much as just kind of gliding.
No, he
downwards.
Floats. He float, and even in one scene where he literally floats into a room, Dracula style, and he's right there with Superman and Wonder Woman, just kind of floating along with him and pulling down. But he doesn't have his little cape out either. It bothered me a little bit because he does seem to have that ease of movement that they have.
Yeah, I don't think I even noticed it, but if it was there, we can chalk that up. Yeah, and I'll chalk that up to the problem of you have to create headcanon for it. And if you've heard the Man of Steel review, you'll know that I don't like having to create too much headcanon. I
know, but you were creating a hell of a lot of headcanon for Becca just then, Becca and Orion.
I know.
Hey, I'm not judging you. We all dip into headcanon every. If you've actually heard the Man of Steel review, I lived there for at least those hours.
Yeah.
And I have to go revisit it every time me and you argue about Man of Steel just to make sure that it has a fighting chance. That part.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not comfortable saying that Batman flew or floated because I don't remember any of that. I remember him gliding downward in a number of instances, but I don't remember an actual like flying situation with him. Mostly he was just on the ground eating.
He just spends a lot of the film being gluttonous, really.
Right.
He's quite full.
Right.
He actually does. He eats like 3 or 4 people before he gets to Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Do vampires not get fat? How much stomach do you have to have? Like,
I mean, like we're talking about a liquid diet.
You have to drain a good 4 quarts, or it's a good few quarts of blood from somebody to just kill them on the spot to actually make everything stop pumping. That's a lot of blood.
Well, okay. Let's
imagine having
headcanon,
about 24 beers and then going to finish off Blockbuster.
Well, if he's, if Will created the nanites to make Kirk into a monster, as he put it, and the nanites are keeping him alive, but he also, like, let's say it was a blood cancer, a blood disease or something, which I'm assuming is what that is, what it was for them to have to create nanites of that nature anyway.
Well,
I'm assuming it's going to use up as much blood as he can drink.
A delivery mechanism and kind of a patcher.
Right.
It was basically the construction crew sending in. Now, I would say blood cancer of some type, just because it seems like the best fit for this kind of story, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of headcanon, but also a lot of fun.
Hell of a lot of fun.
So,
now, best thing about this movie, and it really is. It's one of those where lots of civilians are going to die. These are these are government agents with families, and they're just willy-nilly killing them. I mean, throwing one helicopter into another. A bunch of well-trained pilots that I'm sure have some kids. Not one fuck. Not a single one between them. And then what amazed me about that was, like, later Lois Lane is on the screen saying, "We just can't imagine what we would have done without the Justice League to blah blah blah," and they're still cleaning up like construction behind her. And I'm sure if they were more accurate with it, they would still be like hauling off body bags from the construction. There should be dogs in there searching for more bodies and huge lists on the side of who was working there and trying to account for everybody. All of those kind of like Man of Steel problems are there. But in this film, I don't care.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's exactly who they told me I was getting. They told me I was getting a murderous son of a bitch and his 2 best friends.
Well, the thing about it, though, is the reason it works here is because everyone already knew that everyone pretty much had a problem with the Justice League. I think it was whatever it was, like 30-something% of the population didn't hate the Justice League.
Actually, I do remember those numbers. It was 22% domestically and 29% worldwide.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's
he
one
responds,
of the fun bits.
Revolutions have been built on less.
Yeah, like Batman and Superman.
Che Guevara here.
Yeah, Batman and Superman totally have like stats on who's supporting them. Now, the most exciting thing about this is that we're going to get more.
Oh yeah,
they have announced a season 2 of Gods and Monsters Chronicles. It's going to be 10 episodes.
Excellent.
So
and they're expanding into kind of the Justice League. Maybe we even get some alternate versions of some more people.
I want more. I want alternate versions of more people.
And
I
don't get me wrong, you've got to choose from who's left because lots of people died.
Yeah, and I want to see who comes out against them. And I kind of think Martian Manhunter would. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I want to see John Jones come out against these cats.
But it's going to be a couple of people that they're going to switch some roles. It's going to be like the world's best scientist now. It's kind of down to that slightly second tier. Well, you got like in this version you have Luthor, who's always kind of the smartest guy in the room, and then you have the people he mentored, who are the Langstroms and the Stones, and these are all
most of them are dead.
Yeah, lots of them are either dead or otherwise occupied, and you've got to kick down now to the other people who aren't those like world-ending level intellects. They're not not even touching Luthor, but we've still got like Jonathan Crane and people left.
Yeah,
it's going to be people like that.
I want to see the Joker. We've seen Harley Quinn.
I want to see the Red Hood version of the Joker, like Earth 2 Red Hood doing good Joker. If we're going to do this universe,
I don't know. I'm down for whatever they give us. Like it could be, based on this movie, it'll probably be a Joker with like a couple of boobs on his head or something. It'll be like some Adam Sandler thing, like Little Nicky or something.
They're gonna give him little nipple marks through his little purple suit.
I love Bruce Timm, but dude, you gotta cool it on the misogyny. That's just weird. Like this is some weird stuff you're cooking up, buddy.
I mean, look, it's not like he's ever okay. It's not like he's the first man to ever draw a ridiculously impossible costume for a woman.
I know.
That is honestly, you can't find more than a handful of costumes that someone could actually wear.
Yeah, it's one of those where like I've always thought like, man, I would love to see Bruce Timm just unleashed on a thing, and now they're pretty much letting him do that, and I'm going, man, you need to be reined in.
Okay, all right, you apparently did need an editor. I'm sorry. I bit off more than I could chew. How do I apologize? Which quarter can I put a jar into?
Because there are some things that you're doing here that are just not okay.
Who was the man reining your nipples in? No, he's by far not the first person that's ever drawn an impossible uniform. And secondly, he's not even the first person to ever put nipples on something needlessly. They're just all over the place.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's distracting in comic books. You're reading it, you're going through a shot, and they get to a big action shot, and you get to that, and you kind of, why are there nipples? What?
Hey, you know what? I'll take Platinum's nipples over Batman and Robin's nipples.
Every day.
Like, I'll take that over Joel Schumacher's weird molded nipple suits.
I know. And that's not just... that is not just the stance of a straight man. That is the stance of a man that's still got his sanity. I will take that over that bat nipple any day.
Right. I mean, I can make that make a little more sense. And that's really my only stance. Like, I love cartoons. Never been attracted to them, though.
It's just not about that, you know?
And that goes for comic books too. Like, I love comic books. Never understood like the need to make all the women. Like, I understand. Like, I've never been on that side of the fence where I was just like, oh, the women's outfits are so impractical and it's just sexist.
Oh, I
usually don't think about it because I think like Superman's suit is like form fitting as hell.
Yeah,
like,
they're all impractical. It's a fantasy realm, guys. They're all going to be weird. Although
I've always been very pro
just to be
Superman's
the first person
boxers.
who did it. But like,
I didn't want to see that outline of that super penis. I never wanted to see that.
That's one of the problems reading Watchmen, for instance. Just lots of blue penis.
Yeah.
Just so much. Now, if I ever get the chance, were I to ever get the chance to actually draw a new character, I would do it just to be the first one who ever drew a bra line on a superhero, like a female hero. Just actually draw the bra line, like that little bitty indentation that you could that is there because skin gives.
Right.
Or even just like the little clasp in the back. Like, no, clearly I understand that's you have to have these. Hundreds of years of evolution of clothing have led to this device.
I want to have a
female
female superhero,
but it's the best we've got right now.
I want to have a female superhero who has a low cut type of situation going on, and then like one issue, like she just suddenly has bra straps coming out of the top. And going over the shoulder, and someone's like, "What's the deal with the bra strap?" She's like, laundry day.
Right.
Like the other, my
the same
strapless
thing, though.
bras, we're all dirty.
I would go too far though. Like I would have Batman in the Batcave kind of taking off the cape, and when he takes off the cape and takes off the belt, you realize that like some of his boxers have come out of the back of it, and it's little Superman boxers. You just see like the very top of his underwear.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Turns around to Alfred. Don't tell Clark.
Right. So, all those Superman boxes. Yeah,
I do your laundry, sir.
Don't tell you.
I do your laundry. I've never seen those before.
He's got his own little set of washer and dryer hidden in the Batcave.
Right.
So he can quietly do his... He's got like Justice League undies for pretty much everybody. He's got a little Martian Manhunter like whitey tidies. He's got... Yeah. Why can't the Bat be a fanboy?
I can't understand their weaknesses until I've walked a mile in their shorts. You've never understood that phrase, Master Bruce. It was a day in the shoes.
What would the shoes do? What is that going to teach me? Okay.
What would the shorts teach you? That's a good point, Alfred. That's a good point.
They had a sale. They had a sale at Target. I'm sorry.
Oh. Or even like he goes up against a character like Shriek or something that actually makes him crap his pants.
Through
sound wave technology or something. He like runs into Target and the only thing there...
And the internet is still mad at Kevin Smith. He didn't crap himself. He pissed himself over a very natural reaction when there's an explosion in the vicinity.
Right. Like he just runs into a Target somewhere and looks around like, damn it, Superman underwear. All right, they'll have to do it.
Right. At least it wasn't Joker underwear. Those had been bought out. No, I mean, that's one of the cute things they do. Like, completely off topic at this point. But hey,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's one of the cutest things out of BTAS, right? Is that little scene where you realize that Joker wears Batman pajamas to sleep.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
It's good. All right, back to the actual movie. Look, the best thing about this movie, and if you're watching it, you really will. Like, every time they introduce a character, you're going to find yourself having this internal dialogue. You'll spend the entire movie thinking, surely they won't kill this guy. And every single time, you'll damn be wrong.
Well, see, every time when I watched it, I was just like, oh, how's he going to die?
Right. And some people, you don't care about, because there's no version of Svetlana that anyone cares about. But
there was that the girl that was in the Luthor group, and she's yelling at Magnus. She's like, "We're all on the hit list, blah 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 blah," and they have that whole like safe house like meeting situation, and the robots come in, and like she's like the first to get a sword through the head.
Oh yeah, no, she hides under the pool table, I think it was, and they slice her up. Looked like a perfectly good pool table. That was the real tragedy, and
it was.
Everyone's gonna die, but the important part is death has meaning now. Mm-hmm. This is my favorite part about this new universe, other than just all the kind of just let's go in an entirely different direction. It put on a blindfold and run through the woods and see where you get. That's a lot of fun by itself, but death means something now, and that's gonna be fun to see. Because not only when they introduce someone, not only do you not know if they're going to stay around now, you know that I mean they're dead. Unless they were already a robot or something. Don't get me wrong, it's still a comic universe, and I'm sure you can bring people back. But the people in that room, for instance, the one who was literally ripped into two pieces at the torso, I don't think he's coming back.
Oh,
I don't, unless they do. Unless there's a set of black rings that come flying at this planet, I don't think those motherfuckers come back.
Right. I'd be down for that. Let's see Blackest Night in the Gods and Monsters universe.
Yeah. Of course, then it'll be Whitest Day.
Right. Well, I mean, this isn't like Bizarro reverse universe. This is...
It's not completely. It's just kind of like...
Just shit happened differently, Jason. It's not like complete reversal.
It done went down. It went down differently.
This isn't the mirror universe.
Well, kind of. No, I really would love to see the black rings. And that's something, though, I've wanted to see for a while anyway. And I don't know if it's just because it's such a fucking long story that no one's actually bothered to do it, but come on. It'd be fun, wouldn't it? I'll take like a 3-part DCAU release.
The thing about it, though, is that it's not nearly as interesting as you might assume it was. It's just not.
No,
it was a cool idea that was dragged on for a really long time. If any story deserves to be truncated, that one.
I think you could it was fun to have different colored rings and they all have meaning and all that crap.
Yeah, that's fine. That was a good idea.
That was
Thank
a great
you, Jeff Johns.
Yes.
Execution. Boo, Jeff Johns.
Kind of went on for a bit. And they brought back everybody too. And there was a scene for everybody had their own book where their worst possible nightmare comes back and stuff like that. It's just it's so long.
So long.
Anyway, but the fun part would be the concept though of the black rings and the colors is still perfectly workable. There's plenty of space to play with there. I mean, I say that as a tangent. I wouldn't mind it here, but I wouldn't mind it anywhere really.
Yeah, but I totally want to see a Green Lantern. I want to see how that plays out. How what the Green Lanterns are up to in the Gods and Monsters universe. I want to see how the Flash turned out. I want to see Martian Manhunter, the Joker. I want to see how Gorilla Grodd is doing over there. Like, is he just a monkey?
We'll get over there and Crazy Quilt's not quite there. He's just he'll be like Crazy Throw Pillow.
I was going to say Psycho Blanket, but
either way,
or maybe they do completely do an opposite. Like, he's just a very nice, encouraging guy. They call him the Comforter.
Awesome. That'll be fantastic. Because I'll scoff when I hear it, but then I'll keep watching.
Right.
Yeah, he's the Comforter, and he's the guy who tried to redeem Jonathan Crane before he went off the edge.
Yeah.
He finally, Crane finally kills him, and that's the cement in his villainy and the path it comes.
Right. And, why not? Make Crazy Quilt gay in this universe, and his partner's name is Duvet. the comforter and duvet. And I don't know. I'm just being stupid now. But
well, honestly, it would be just near impossible to name some character that they couldn't have fun with in this new format. Just damn near impossible.
They could have a lot of fun with it.
Like, what's Shazam up to?
The big question, I want to see where Bruce Wayne is.
They actually said when they were talking about when they were describing these films, when Burnett and Tim were describing them for the press, at least somewhere I'd read that Bruce Wayne's out there, but this isn't him.
Yeah,
he's out there.
I want to see
probably just a good-looking dude on an after-work softball team.
Nah, man. I want to see what Bruce Wayne's up to. It's got to be interesting. This is Bruce Wayne. You can't. No, he's got to be doing something cool.
I mean, he could or couldn't. It depends entirely on whether he has parents, really. I mean, if he's just like working at his dad's, giant conglomerate, he's not going to be interesting very long.
Well, if the Justice League came around at the right time, they could have theoretically put an end to a lot of street crime. Mm-hmm. Huge deterrent, so maybe the Waynes are alive, but he's still Bruce Wayne, even without that catalyst. What does a man like Bruce Wayne become, or what could he become? Maybe we do get him, and he's just a playboy, a nonsensical idiot who never really learned how to do anything in his entire life. But
he's got good genes. I assume he's still
he's got good genes, man.
Pretty mean, pickup basketball game.
Yeah, I assume he's not wasting those genes on supermodels forever.
That's probably what he is doing, though. I don't know. It'd be impossible to say, but since Silver St. Cloud's come up a few times, let's just say he's married to her, has parents, and is kind of a little disgruntled working for his dad, but no big deal. Man.
Yeah, he's got some great burden. He's always known he always felt like he was meant for more, but he doesn't know what.
And he knows it's not that company. That's his dad's.
Yeah. I want to see where they're going in this universe. I really do.
Well, I mean,
despite the three major flaws that I pulled out, and the one major flaw that you pulled out. So let's do that. I'm looking forward to Gods and Monsters Chronicles Part 2, and let us know what you guys thought of the movie. And
yeah, I'm being picky picking on it. I loved the damn thing. It was fantastic.
I loved it.
Really
I'm being
time.
picky as well. I loved it as well. Don't get me wrong. In this day and age, it's just getting a little ridiculous. Some of the impracticalities of female costumes. That's all I'm saying. and that's where I'll leave that. I'm not griping on it too much, but
yeah.
I think that's gonna do it for us. Do you know what we're doing next week? Are we doing Batman Begins?
Yeah. We're going to
that's what
unless Constantine saves us. We're going to go down the Nolan trilogy, essentially.
Right.
We keep hinting at how much. I'll say passion to give it, I guess, a broad term. But we feel very strongly about those films, and
we do.
Truth be told, largely negatively. So,
it depends on which movie it is. It really does.
Yeah.
We go back and forth a lot, and we really hope you join us for those episodes. They are the last live-action Batman movies that we've received, and quite honestly, we feel because we're going to keep mentioning them, so we might as well go ahead and do a review of them. Yeah. We do want to get to a Constantine overview. I've just watched the series all the way through. Jason wants to go back and rewatch a little bit so that he can get a refresher, because he was OG. He watched them when they came out. Mm-hmm. We do want to do a Constantine recap, but that is it for this episode.
We're hoping, we're just kind of holding out optimism that it'll be timely, that we'll get a hint that he's actually going to show up on Arrow. Yeah. Which, and hey, it keeps write looking your letters.
It keeps looking like they're going to do it. They want to do it. I don't think it's even a question of whether or not we write letters or show interest. They want to do it. But I think they're going to have some scheduling issues with Matt Ryan and a little bit of red tape, from what I understand.
I'm sure there's red tape.
But guys, let us know what you thought of Justice League Gods and Monsters. Leave us comments on Facebook. Go and write a review on Stitcher. Give us a 5-star review if you want to hear more of us. That will help us so much. iTunes, Stitcher.
just spread the word generally. Just let the people know.
Yeah, let the people know.
Incidentally, we are going to review the Nolan films. We're just going to go back, give a recap of our hate and the limited amount of love we have for them. If there's anything in particular you would like addressed.
Yeah. Bleh.
That's what happens when you start thinking about those films. Your brain just turns to mush.
I know.
You're not far from the eyes rolling up in sleepy times.
All right. Like I said, go find us on iTunes and Stitcher. Give us reviews and 5-star ratings. You can also find us on DCOnScreen.com. You can contact us there as well as DCOnScreen@gmail.com. That's a good place to contact us. We do fan feedback when we get it. So you might be featured on an episode of DC On Screen. If you want a similar podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, go check out our friends Matt Carroll and Jeff Randall on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. They are also on iTunes and Stitcher and on MCUcast.com. Until next week, put some DC on your screen. Come on, do it. I know we will.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.